Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. And welcome to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick with Stress to Logic and Firearm Mentor, where we train people to remain safe, stay sharp, and train for the moment that matters. And I want to wish everybody a happy, healthy, and awesome Thanksgiving. If you are not aware, I put out 2 video tips a week on a bunch of different platforms, including Google My Business, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and various pages. And you can follow me. If you look up Firearm Mentor on any of those except TikTok, you can see these weekly updates. And the one I did just a couple days ago was how to avoid conflict over firearms at the Thanksgiving table. You're there to eat turkey, not deal with turkeys. And I'm kidding when I say that, but it's family time. So there's some great tips if you want to go look up Firearm Mentor on anything except TikTok. Now on TikTok, I'm known as the quote, boom oi boy, end quote. And the reason why I'm known as that, and I picked that as my name, is based on an experience I had with my mother. My father passed away when I was a teenager. No, it's not a sad story. That was decades and decades ago. And we lived down the block from a family that caused trouble. And I'm understating it. And I said to my mom and my sister, you guys really need to know how to use the firearms in the house. God forbid if anything ever happened. And because my father and I were really the only shooters in the house at that time. So I took my mom and my sister to the shooting range, and I'm going to physically describe my mother to you. She was a little old Jewish lady who was a school librarian. So whatever is coming to mind right now is accurate. So I took her, this is how old I am, I took her to Bell's Guns, which used to be in Melrose Park on Mannheim. They got shut down. And I set her up in the lane, and of course I gave her the safety briefing and showed her the mechanics and everything that I do now for a lesson. And I go into the next booth because I wanted to shoot at my target. And all of a sudden, this is what I heard. By the way, I gave her a 22, and if you're not a firearms person, a 22, anything less than that isn't even a firearm. It's a great, easy-to-shoot gun for new shooters. So I gave the 22 to my 5'3" little old Jewish lady mother. I went into the next lane, and this is what I heard. Boom, oi! Boom, oi! Boom, oi! And the ois were louder than the gunshots. Now, I was 19 at the time, quite embarrassed because that's what I heard for an hour and a half. And I immediately dropped everything and ran over to her and said, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And she, in her very enunciated voice, said, "I'm perfectly fine." And she continued to shoot. I don't think it was for her. My sister did extremely well. She ended up shooting a 6-inch 357 Magnum and hit the target every time. So she was very good at it. In any event, we have Thanksgiving upon us, and I wanted to share what I am thankful for, in addition to being thankful for my listeners and people in the gun industry. Oh, I'm thankful for the Second Amendment. Oh, I'm thankful for guns. Let me tell you what makes me tick. I'm thankful for my father. What? So I just mentioned him. He passed away when I was 19. But some of the fondest memories that I have with my father was going to the shooting range. Yeah, we used to go to Gabby Hartnett, which was in Lincolnwood on Lincoln Avenue. The downstairs was a gun store and a shooting range, and the upstairs was a bowling alley. And I believe the bowling masked the gunshot sounds, because I never heard the gunshot sounds in the bowling alley. And the stairs were all sloped forward, so it's really difficult to go down. And I started when I was 7. I was so short, my father had to bring with a stool for me to step on so I could see over the bench. In any event, over the years, my father and I cleaned firearms. We reloaded ammunition together. And after he passed away, I said, I really don't have the knowledge. He was an engineer. I really don't have the knowledge to continue. I was the guy that pulled the lever. Okay. And sometimes I did other little things, but he did all the calculations. So, with that said, I'm very thankful for my father and for him to teach me how to shoot. But that's not really what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for the time that he spent with me. It was just him and just me. And we had a couple other activities that only he and I did together. And one of them was working on the cars in the garage. We would change our own oil. We would have winter tires we would put on. We'd rotate tires. And he would, keep in mind, this is 1970s, 1980s. So there was a lot of rust on cars, and he would fix it. And I was the dummy. And that's the joke of the family. I was dummy. Hand me the screwdriver, dummy. I hand him a screwdriver. No, not the flat one, the Phillips one. So whenever he said dummy, he'd get my attention. Now, I didn't know this when I was a little kid, but I found this out later. He was 16 years older than he has a twin brother, half brother and sister. And his half brother, Dennis, was dummy number 1. He was around before I was. And the same thing would happen. He'd say, hey, dummy, hand me a wrench. No, not that wrench, the other wrench. And so when we were at a family function or a party, he'd say, hey, dummy. And both of our heads would turn, my uncle's and mine, and say, what? So it was a term of endearment. It wasn't an insult. And he called people dummy who were actually pretty smart. So it was kind of a reverse thing, and it was shtick. But that's what I'm thankful for. And I'm thankful for all of my relatives that I'm going to see. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the family. I'm going with my wife this year and her family because they invited us, and we had several losses in the family. So we're all just going to get together and celebrate the lives of the people that have passed in the last 6 months or so. Other things I'm thankful for are my son's going to be visiting me. Actually, he's going to be here at the time that this airs, and I haven't seen him since August physically. We FaceTime all the time. He's an engineering student at the University of Alabama. So really, really looking forward to the holiday and spending time with family.
I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRESS2logic.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show.
I'd also like to note that our next concealed carry class is going to be on December 6th and 7th in the Long Grove, Buffalo Grove area. We still have room for not only initial certifications, but we have room for additional, recertifications. And if you do subscribe, earlier in the broadcast, I talked about different social media outlets. I'm going to be announcing a 10% off coupon code, so be sure you subscribe to one of those areas, whether it's TikTok, where I'm the Boom Oi Boy, whether it's Google My Business, Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I have a LinkedIn page, YouTube, and Instagram. Everywhere but TikTok, I am known as Firearm Mentor. On TikTok, I am the Boom Oi Boy. So let's talk about a firearm or a line of firearms called Glock. If you have been following the news, Glock now has a version or iteration V as in Victor. So right now we're on Gen 5. Gen 5 was slightly altered to prevent the fully automatic switches from going into a Glock. Now, I'm around firearms all the time. I've never seen one. I've seen them online, but I've never seen one in person. If I ever got the opportunity to shoot it, I mean, with a appropriately licensed person, not someone on the south side or the west side or any side, I would certainly try it, but it's not something that interests me. So Glock has been sued by 30 plus states because their firearms are easily convertible to this machine pistol. So Glock changed the design, and I inspected one and I compared it with the Gen 5. On the outside, controls, feel, everything is identical. You would not be able to tell the difference between a Gen V and a Gen 5. However, the inside has a couple of little engineering changes. So that back plate off the back of the slide cannot be removed and have a switch be put on. But with new technology comes new crime. Already there is a replacement that makes that Glock a fully automatic Glock, and it's 3D printable. I don't have the design. I don't want the design. I don't want to get in trouble. But great. So you just spent a lot of money on R&D to make a new pistol where you can still convert it. That, I believe, was a huge waste. But the thing is, California, and a friend of mine, Patrick, mentioned it's probably going to follow in Illinois, are looking to ban all Glock semi-automatics. Now, that's kind of dumb. And the reason why I'm going to tell you it's kind of dumb is because the number of Glock switches that are used in crime is minuscule. It's like trying to ban AR-15s for mass shootings when the vast majority of mass shootings are done with handguns. But let's get rid of the semi-automatic rifles. Doesn't make sense to me. So they're going to just, let's say they outlaw Glocks in Illinois, California, maybe other states. Guess what? It is the most used firearm out there. The Glock 19 is the highest selling firearm in the United States. There are millions of them in production. So I don't know how that's going to save anyone or anything, because you've got the older ones that are still in production. You can get or make a Glock Switch, turning it into a fully automatic machine gun. And so Glock reorganized, and they reorganized their design. They redesigned, they put it out, and within a couple weeks, somebody had a solution for that. And you can now get the new ones that are fully automatic. They look a little bit goofier because the switch looks a little goofier, but at the same time, it solved no problems. Gen 6 is going to be coming out, and I don't know. I'm giving you guys an opinion. A lot of the engineers at Glock, I'm repeating what I've heard, so I don't have firsthand knowledge of this. But a lot of the engineers at Glock were in opposition to Gaston Glock, who was the owner, who passed away earlier this year. And they wanted to put on a safety switch. They wanted to make changes to the design. And if you know anything about Glocks, the designs did change, but very, very minuscule. You can't change perfection, right? That's why everyone modifies it. That's kind of a joke, everyone. But I don't know. Maybe the engineers are going to start to get their way and they can redesign some of the things on Glock, like adding a safety for the people that are interested in having a safety. Now, I don't like a safety on a firearm that I'm going to carry, and I don't carry a single action firearm. Single action firearms do need a safety. But at the same time, I'm always, whenever I've practiced, and I've carried a gun professionally, Whenever I've practiced, I've always, or more often than not, forgotten to take the slide off. Forgotten to take the safety off. I just couldn't get it into my muscle memory that was a step that I had to do. Hey, look, I'm a human being. I'm limited. I do things that work for me. People do things that work for them. I don't teach from a book. I teach from experience. And that's just one of those things in my experience I can't overcome. Hey, I'll tell you another thing I can't overcome, and that's finger placement on the trigger. I grew up with revolvers, and if you know anything about double action firearms, you know that the double action trigger pull is excessively difficult. And I'll tell you about a customer's firearm shortly. So I would hook my finger into the first joint, when in reality you're supposed to put your finger on the trigger in the center of your fingerprint, or halfway between that first joint and the tip of your finger. Which means if you have a smaller gun, you might have to back your finger out a little bit. But in order to shoot them, I had to have more fingers so I could have more strength. And now today, unless I really concentrate on it, I still shoot that way. I also hit bullseyes. So when I'm hitting a bullseye and I'm doing it not the way the book said, I figured out, guess what? We don't have to do it the way the book says it. If we have our own way of doing things, we can, and we're safe, big, important thing there, and we're hitting bullseyes, there's no changes to be made. Why do I say this? Well, my son, the guy who's in college, and he's going to be coming back, or came back when this airs, is left-handed. And like all the kids in my neighborhood, he played on Park District basketball, and for some reason, he's extremely tall. Now, I'm short, I'm fat, I'm balding. He did not get that from me. He got the brains from me, but he did not get the appearance from me. On his mother's side of the family, there are several people in excess of 6 feet tall, and that's where he got his height from. But he was a little kid. He was in elementary school. He was in junior high, and he would, when you're at that age, nobody really looks at the scores except the dads. So I would keep score in my head or on my fingers or in my phone, and what I really wanted to see was what percentage of baskets my son made, because I wanted to be proud of him. And I counted, on average, he averaged about 25% of the points in each game. And that's a result of him being tall. So for some reason, the way that he shot the basket was not the way that the book said to do it. And his coach, great guy, I went to high school with him, hadn't coached before. It would be like if I coached basketball. I don't know the ins and outs. And he taught from a book. And it said in the book, no, your hand gesture has to be a certain way. And he taught my son how to do that and said, you have to shoot the baskets this way. My son went from scoring 25% of the points in each game to 0% of the points in each game. So I take that as a lesson. And when I teach students how to shoot, we don't live in a perfect world. Someone might have a hand strength issue. They might be missing a finger. They might be missing a limb. They might have arthritis. Tons and tons of different things that can alter the way that someone shoots. And they can still shoot. I have one customer, he's in a wheelchair. Okay, he still shoots. I had another one, and he was pretty difficult to move. He wasn't that mobile, and I don't know if he had a cane or a walker. And what I did was I brought a stool for him so he could sit down and shoot. Everyone's not going to be standing in isosceles or weaver stance perfectly each time, even though that school I went to a couple weeks ago reframed me and taught me how to redo that, and it has made me a better shot. But we're not talking Olympic shooting here. We're talking defensive shooting. So if you're aiming, say, center mass, and you're off by an inch or two, you still hit the bad guy. And that's the point of self-defense, is to stop the attack, to hit the bad guy and interrupt their activities to give you enough time to get away. So we learn about this in depth in the classes, which are all listed at firearmmentor.com/classes. Again, please subscribe to the social medias so you can get the right coupon codes, news, tips, tricks, all sorts of things. And I was pretty proud of the one I put out about how to handle firearm conversations at holiday parties. I have a few more that are similar that are coming out that's going to talk about the different aspects that someone might ask you. So why did I put that out? Well, the reason why I put that out is because Everytown for Gun Safety released a Thanksgiving dinner gun control talking point guideline. And in the guideline, they talk about providing a variety of ways people can push gun control to their families while passing the turkey. The talking points are framed around debunking gun myths, end quote, and provide responses one family member can give to a pro-Second Amendment family member. For example, if a pro-2A member says, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Everytown says people with guns kill people, and more efficiently than people without guns. Or if a pro-2A family member says, strong guns laws don't work, look at Chicago. Everytown says their response should be, Chicago proves why we must push for strong federal gun laws. Many of the crime guns recovered in Chicago and other cities and states with strong gun violence prevention laws are trafficked from states with weaker gun laws. By the way, this is not supported with data. Missing from Everytown's material are the myriad gun controls in effect in the Chicago area, most of which are in effect for the entire state. The statewide controls include a red flag law, 72-hour waiting period on gun purchases, a ban on concealed carry for self-defense and public transit, an assault weapons ban, a high-capacity magazine ban, and a firearm owner identification card requirement. The process for getting a FOID card involves a background check conducted by ISP or Illinois State Police. Additionally, Chicago, within Cook County, has its own assault weapon and high-capacity magazine ban. But despite these and other gun controls, Chicago has witnessed over 32,000 shooting victims in the last decade alone. Moreover, the city saw over 6,200 murders during the same decade. It should also be noted that the ATF gun recovery and trace data from 2023 shows that Illinois is the state of origin from which the majority of guns are recovered and traced. That is data, not feelings. According to the ATF data, 22,973 firearms were recovered or traced in Illinois just in 2023. Of those, 9,147, or just under half, were from Illinois, and in a distant second, 2,796 were from Indiana. Beyond Indiana, there were not even 1,000 guns recovered or traced with organs in another single state. For example, there were 952 recovered or traced from Missouri, 663 from Wisconsin, 390 from Tennessee. So just be prepared to deflect, talk about something else when you're at the Thanksgiving table. And remember, your family, your friends, they're not all going to agree with you on everything. Hey, my wife and I don't agree on a lot of things. That doesn't mean we don't work together. It doesn't mean we don't love each other. That doesn't mean we don't work together. But sometimes topics are so polarizing, like firearms, like Trump, like politics, like religion, that it creates this sense of bad feelings. And it makes these events extremely uncomfortable. So keep your opinions to yourself. Now, that doesn't mean you can't tell a joke or two. And maybe your whole family is pro-Second Amendment. Maybe your whole family is not pro-Second Amendment. It's best not to bring that stuff up. There's another new product out there called the SLNT, which unveiled its first concealed carry signal blocking Faraday sling for physical and digital detection. So this is one of those sling bags that's built to conceal, protect, and block signals. And you can carry a ton of stuff in it. It's basically a man purse. And it's the first of its kind sling, combining tactical carry design and signal blocking Faraday protection for total digital and physical security. So this company is in Sheridan, Wyoming, and they are a leader in Faraday gear and digital privacy protection. And they have this sling bag. And threats are both seen and unseen. Physical danger can strike in seconds, while digital surveillance tracks, records, and monetizes every move that you make. The concealed carry Faraday sling gives users control over both. It eliminates wireless signals, hides your digital footprint, and provides secure, fast access concealed storage, giving you command over your privacy, your data, and your defense. The mission behind it came from real talk, from real people, operators, vets, people who know what they're doing, no hype, no junk, just something that works, that blends in, that gives you control. So every day you're exposed. Your phone constantly broadcasts your location and behavior. They feed tracking and surveillance systems that never stop watching. And you live in a world built on visibility where exposure has become the default. So let me opine on this. That's great. It'll stop a digital system. However, did you know that there are dogs that are, I will call them gun-sniffing dogs? What are they looking for? Well, they're looking for odors like bore solvent, gun oil, burnt and unburnt gunpowder. And a Faraday bag, although it's a very interesting concept, really is going to only thwart one type of detection. And it's not going to thwart a detection when you're going into through a metal detector, because they're going to inspect your bag. If you want it, look up SLNT. That's Sam, Lincoln, Nora, Tom, for their Faraday bag if you're interested in getting it. I also just ordered a stop box, and that's the mechanical gun safe that continues to be advertised. I reached out to them. I may have them on the show in the future, but I wanted to actually evaluate it for myself before I have it on the show, and then there's a possibility I might carry them and sell them. I don't know. We'll have to see how they are. I want to evaluate them first before I actually invite any guests on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you a very happy and healthy holiday, Thanksgiving, and of course all the other holidays that come with it. Tune in next week for another episode of Firearm Mentor. Thank you. We have monthly concealed carry license CCL classes in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.